This is the Adam Carriker Show.
Position right of the quarterback, out of the shotgun, first and 20. Jailbreak screen in the air. It is tipped. It is intercepted by Carriker at the Missouri 21-yard line.
Live from the heart of Lincoln, America, 5-year NFL vet and All-American defensive lineman Adam Carriker.
Shotgun snap to Everett. He's got the left arm going, and now he's got a whole lot of Adam Carriker who rips him down inside the 25-yard line.
On 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
On The Ticket is a glorious day. You know why? Do you know why? I'll tell you why. Because it's a Victory Monday, baby. In the NFL, a Victory Monday meant you won on Sunday and you got Monday off. Because typically, if you play on Sunday and you lose, okay, you got to come in Monday, watch film, lift weights, the like, get treatment. We got to get treatment. Even if there's a day off, no matter what, you got to get your butt back on the field if you're hurt or not feeling great. But a Victory Monday meant it was optional. Now, or you could come in at any point that was convenient for your schedule. Either way, however you wanted to do it. Now, you always had Tuesday off. That's the mandatory day off every week in the NFL is Tuesday. So then you had Monday, you had Tuesday off. So every time an NFL team wins, just know that those players, if they wish, they have until Wednesday off. Now, a good portion of them are going to come in on Monday at the leisure of their own schedule rather than a dictated time, which is obviously cool. If you lost, you need to get better, improve, and otherwise. But a Victory Monday, ladies and gentlemen, obviously we don't have the day off, and I wouldn't want the day off. I love this job. I love talking Husker sports and football. I almost combined them into two words into one, but I didn't do great. The fact is, it's a Victory Monday. Husker Nation has reason to be happy. And yes, I've gotten the messages, but it's Northern Illinois. Well, you're correct. We knew we were going to play them. Don't act surprised. We got Louisiana Tech coming up. I'm hoping we got a Victory Monday next week. Back to 500. Getting ready for good old Michigan and our Big Ten slate, the final 8 games. I'm still hopeful, very hopeful, because I do see 5 more wins, 6 total wins on this Husker football schedule going forward. But let's go backwards before we go forwards. Okay, I want to look back at Northern Illinois. And I want to do something I've not done yet. I want to talk about the season stats as a whole to this point, okay? Then I'm going to bring on my guest at 12:30, Jay Foreman, okay, Nebraska Football Hall of Famer, one of the all-time greats, a national champion 3 times over. And then at the end of the show today, we got the People's segment. All right, before we dive into all that and light this candle, all right, let's give a shout-out because the odds are you've driven by GE Landscape Supply countless times, likely without knowing, at 6701 Cornhusker Highway. Now it's time to stop in. GE Landscape Supply sells to homeowners and contractors with a vast selection of landscaping and construction materials. They sell in bulk to save you money. Buy anything from a 5-gallon bucket to a semi-load. And don't forget, they deliver anywhere, nearby or far away. Stop by at 6701 Cornhusker Highway from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Friday, and 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturdays. Go to GELandscapeSupply.com for more info or call 402-467-1627. That's 402-467-1627. All right, just a reminder, another loaded show. We're going to break down the stats from Northern Illinois, look at the stats from the first 3 games. We're going to enjoy a little bit of a Victory Monday. Then we're going to look ahead. Then we're going to take a break. Then we're going to have Jay Foreman. Then we're going to take a break. And we got the People segment at the end. Now, you look at the Northern Illinois game. All right, I'm just going to go through the stats because I have not done this yet this year to this level or this depth. I like to mix it up, change it up, okay? When you look at the first downs, Nebraska almost doubled the Huskies 23-12. Third down efficiency, the best the Huskers have been all year, 8 out of 14. The Huskies, 4 out of 15. Okay, so just over 25% on third down. The Black Shirts defense held the Huskies too, which is pretty good, honestly. 4th downs. The Huskies only attempted once, and they converted once. Nebraska didn't attempt at all. Total yards, 382 for Nebraska, 149 for Northern Illinois. Passing, 158 for the Big Red, 123 for the Huskies. Now, coming into this game, Nebraska's pass defense, I mean, they were flat out dominant on the run. Okay, really good at getting after the quarterback. Number 2 in the country coming into this game. All right, with 11 sacks in 2 games, averaging 5.5. If you round appropriately, that's 6 per game. I don't know if you round like that in football, but I digress. Okay, they've been able to get after the quarterback, been able to stop the run, but they were 106th in pass defense coming into the Northern Illinois game, but we'll come back to the updated stat on that here in a minute. All right. Nebraska, Harburg was 18 of 24. Okay, the Huskies 17 of 36, less than 50%. The coverage, I mean, it was tight on Saturday. Even when they caught the ball, Northern Illinois, there was not a lot of yak, not a lot of yards after contact. They were contested passes. The pass coverage was much tighter. Okay, and even when they did catch the ball, which was less than 50% of the time, there was no yak, or very little, to minimal. All right, you look at yards per pass, actually a season high for the Huskers, 6.6. Okay, like to see that keep increasing, but you got to get better, take it one step at a time. Meanwhile, again, Northern Illinois, very few guys were open, very little yak, 3.4 yards per pass. Okay. The Huskers had an INT. Rushing-wise, Nebraska, again, over 200 yards. They're averaging over 200 yards rushing a game, 224 yards rushing, while Northern Illinois had 26. Okay. Now, rushing attempts, Nebraska did double the Huskies, 44 to 22. Yards per rush, Nebraska is now averaging over 5 yards a rush, just barely, depending on how you want to round that number. 5 yards per carry this season. Okay. With the defense that we're playing and the way we're running the ball, it literally comes down to the turnovers. I think we all know that. If we hold on to the ball, we actually move the ball. Okay, we're not explosive. We're not going to blow the roof off the doors. Always take the under if you're a betting man. Always take the under in the Nebraska game. Okay. Although, did they actually go over this past weekend? That may be the one exception. And I don't mind being wrong on that. But 95% of the time, take the under. I have to look at the over-under from last weekend. I do believe they actually went over. It's nice when you hold on to the ball, wear out a team, run it up their rear, and then you get big runs at the end of the game because they're worn out. Kind of like old school Nebraska football. All right. So Nebraska is averaging 5 yards a carry or more this year, over 200 yards rushing a game. Okay. Meanwhile, Northern Illinois, 1.2 yards per rush. Goodness gracious. All right, penalties. Nebraska, not bad, 5 for 70. There was a couple of 15-yarders in there, if I recall. We had the one fumble, didn't pick up the blitz. Okay. Ben Hart's been better this year. I mean, the offensive line isn't dominant, but the right side of that line has been stronger than the left. So you got to give credit for Ben Hart improving so far this year over what he had been in previous years. On this particular play, Northern Illinois blitzed. He did not pick it up. We fumbled and gave the Northern Illinois we gave him a short field would be an incredible understatement, but the black shirts held him to a field goal. All right, time of possession. We had the ball for 13 more minutes than Northern Illinois. All right, so pretty much controlled the game, ran the ball well, stopped them from running the ball, threw the ball just enough, efficiently enough to be able to keep them on their toes just a smidgen, okay? And really controlled the game and then took over the second half. There were times in the first half where it was kind of that weird feeling in Memorial Stadium, kind of that weird feeling like, that fumble and there's some of these drives aren't looking good since that first drive, but then the second half things turned around. I loved Harburg's demeanor. If you just watched his demeanor, he didn't look like a young guy making his first start. Okay, he looked like poised and in control of the offense, confident, unfazed. And yes, I freaking love the way he ran the football. And again, somebody's going to pipe in, well, that's not very smart. That's a debate for another day, okay? Right now, we have two quarterbacks that the coaches believe in, so that allows for a little bit of freedom when you're running the ball as a quarterback to be more physical. What I love right now is the mentality that displays, that shows, that displays to the rest of the team, okay? Anytime in practice, and I'll be honest, it wasn't often, but anytime in practice, a quarterback would throw a block, that ignited the whole team, especially the offense. Now, if you were the guy getting blocked, a little bit embarrassing. Or anytime a quarterback ran somebody over. Again, didn't happen a ton, but when it did, that galvanizes a team. That rallies a team around you. They want to play with you and for you. All right, we can debate how smart that is or is not later on down the road. For now, I love it. All right, let's go to the defensive side of the ball. Well, let's look at some specific stats, actually. First, Heinrich Harburg, like I mentioned, 18 of 24, 158 yards passing, 2 TDs, no INTs, QBR 51.6. All right, he was also our leading rusher. And I don't hate that, but I would love if a running back was our leading rusher way more often than not. But again, this was a great first step. Okay, when I say great first step, I don't mean the play was necessarily great. You could argue at times maybe good or not good was debatable. But we held on to the ball. We moved the ball. there was a poise and there was just a demeanor from the quarterback position that I really liked. He's a young guy who's uber talented. Talked about it a million times. He's only going to get better. Had he entered this game and been nervous and scared or things like that, I mean, it's understandable. Young guy making his first start, but that wasn't what it was. It's easy, much quicker to build on things like that. All right, Gabe Ervin had 14 carries, 67 yards, 4.8 yards per rush. Anthony Grant, 7 carries, 46 yards, 6.6 yards per rush. I can see, and you kind of knew it before. We'd seen him last year. Okay, Anthony's really the shiftier of the two backs. Gabe's more, I don't know, his straight line speed, it's hard to tell, but his straight line speed may be better than Anthony's. It may be about the same. Anthony's much shiftier. Gabe's more powerful. So I think they're a great 1-2 punch. I can see why, stay with me for a second, okay? I can see why they gave the ball to Anthony so much that first game. I don't mean to backtrack. I just would have timed it differently at the end. But we have 2 really good backs, and honestly, we have 3. Ramir, I just want to see Ramir returning every single punt and kickoff return. I mean, when you have 3 backs like that, as punts are harder to catch, admittedly, than a kickoff, okay? So he should absolutely be doing all kick returns, okay? Punts, if he struggles to catch them, it doesn't matter how fast you are if you ain't got the ball, and I think that's why Billy Kemp is back there. And again, I think I mentioned this in my gut reaction after the game. I think our first 2 punt returns totaled 3 net yards. That's not great. But if Ramir can catch the ball, you got to get the ball in his hands some way, shape, or form, especially if Anthony and Gabe are going to get the load at running back, which is fine. I like a 1-2 punch, but let's figure out how to get Ramir on the field more. Kick returns, absolutely. If he can catch the ball, or at least work on it, get better. You can't have somebody back there muffing the punt. If he can do that, I think Billy's back there simply because he can catch the ball and he can make some moves. But I think Ramir, if he could catch it, gives us our best dynamic weapon that's not getting the ball yet. I remember a Sugar Bowl way back when. I don't even remember. Early 2000s, mid 2000s. Boston College, Texas A&M. I want to say it was David Boston. I could be wrong on this. Flying off the cuff here. I want to say it was David Boston, and they were playing A&M in the Sugar Bowl, and he was banged up. But they put him back there to catch every single punt, and all he did was fair catch every one because he wasn't himself. But they put him back there because they knew he would catch it. And they knew they must have had nobody else they trusted because if a punt hits the ground, I mean, especially if it rolls or it bounces, it can cause all sorts of problems. So the first thing, you got to have someone who can catch it to avoid those issues. Now, ideally, if the person can return it, obviously that's phenomenal as well. You look at receiving. All right, Thomas Fidone. Is he starting to break out a little bit? Because that would be awesome. Is it just because his former roommate was a quarterback and they're familiar with each other? I don't know. Okay. But Thomas Fidone, 4 receptions, 42 yards, 10.5 yards per catch, and a touchdown. All right, Marcus Washington. And we got to get more receivers to step up. Marcus Washington had 2 receptions. Billy Kemp had 3 receptions and a touchdown. We just got to get more guys to step up. We are who we are. Okay. We don't have great vertical threats in the passing game. We are figuring out the quarterback position. Okay. And to this point, neither one has shown great ability to stretch the field with their arms. But if nobody's open, you can only show what you can show with what you've got. We are a team that's going to run the ball. We're a team that's going to be physical, try to wear you out, be stronger in the second half. And that's okay. Again, as long as you hold on to the ball. If you don't do that, you saw what happened the first 2 games. And yes, it's Northern Illinois. I get it. Got to start somewhere. I said that before. But look what happened when we didn't turn the ball over. We wore the opponent down. Now all of a sudden, 3-yard rushes turn into 7. 7 turn into 15. All of a sudden, a 4-yard run on first down and 2nd and 6 turns in that same exact run turns into 2nd and 2. And now the drives go quicker. And now, I mean, we're familiar with this in Husker Nation. Our offense right now actually reminds me a lot of Wisconsin over the years. Okay. And I know Wisconsin's supposed to be going to this spread thing. They're really not doing it very well, mostly because their quarterback isn't great and they've got 2 phenomenal running backs, so they don't have to. We knew it was going to be a progression for them. But Wisconsin over the years, disciplined, sound special teams, great defense, run the ball down your throat and up your rear. That's all then they got very little play out of their quarterbacks over the years outside of Russell Wilson for 1 year. I've always said they should run the option, at least get something out of your quarterback. Again, outside of Russell Wilson for 1 year, they've never really gotten anything out of their quarterbacks, which is fine. It worked for them, but I think that's why they're trying to make a gradual change over time with new head coach Luke Fickell and the new offensive coordinator. It is going to take some time. Tanner Mordecai, the SMU transfer who's starting for him right now, is come and go a little bit. Okay. Anyways, my point is we kind of look right now like Wisconsin has for a long time, and that's okay with me as long as we hold on to the ball like Wisconsin was known for doing. And then I wouldn't hate, honestly, incorporating, and I've said this before, and I even asked Tommy Frazier, if you missed my interview with Tommy last week, go check it out, CarrikerChronicles.com. I asked him, I said, should we incorporate more option into the offense? I am of the mindset of yes. Again, I'll go back to Wisconsin. I wonder if you're not going to challenge teams passing-wise and get much out of your quarterback, at least incorporate the option into it so it becomes a dynamic weapon and threat in some way, shape, or form. And that's why, Jeff Sims, I think he can run the option. I think Heinrich's athletic enough to run the option. Okay, he's athletic enough to go to receiver. All right. And Tommy actually disagreed, and that's cool. Tommy would know more about running the option than I would. Even when I was a high school quarterback, actually, true story, my true freshman year, okay, we got a new coach. I think he came in from Minnesota. He put in the old wing, okay, veer read triple option. And I really don't know what happened, but he was gone the next year. He was literally there for 1 year. I was playing on the freshman team, so it didn't affect me. So I have ran the option from the quarterback position for one full season, so I understand the dive read, reading the end man on the line of scrimmage, keep, pitch, pull, all that good stuff. I get all that. I remember all that. But then we went to, when I became the starter, ladies and gentlemen, I'm not an option quarterback physically, okay? So we went to 4 and 5 wide, and we threw the ball 40, 50 times a game. So I've run that offense from a quarterback's perspective as well. My point is Tommy knows way more about the option than I do. And he's like, no, we don't have to go to that. Nebraska fans, and I'll throw myself in here, are inclined to want that because of the tradition. And so I respect Tommy's opinion. My thoughts are, yes, exactly. Let's get back to what we're known for, especially if we're not going to vertically threat anybody down the field. So those are just my thoughts. I do think it would add another dynamic portion to the offense, make the quarterback a little bit more of a threat. But obviously, Jeff Sims was probably our most dynamic weapon the first 2 games, okay, as far as making plays. And Heinrich was our most dynamic weapon in the 3rd game, and he ran the ball plenty of times. So they're clearly using his legs to begin with. Just a thought of mine. My point is I don't mind looking like Wisconsin as long as we look like Wisconsin for 4 full quarters, holding on to the ball, getting better and better, improving the passing game, incorporate a little bit of the running game, and wearing teams out, playing great defense, playing sound offense, and we'll gradually get better with each and every game and what we're able to do and not do, expand, not expand, whatever the case may be based on what's happening. And I'm sure it'll improve from this year to next year to the following year. It's going to be a fun process to watch. Frustrating at times, I'm sure. But true fans, look at the Colorado bandwagon right now. You freaking kidding me? Where were you people 3 months ago? Where were you people 3 weeks ago before TCU? All right. Stay on the Husker bandwagon. Don't get off. Don't be a Colorado bandwagon fan. Now, in their defense, I know some guys who've been on that bandwagon for years. Very few and far between. All right, let's get to the defensive. I'm gonna go season totals on the defensive stats here. Isaac Gifford. All right, you heard he stepped up last season, okay, especially towards the end. You heard about him in camp. He leads the team in tackles right now with 16 total tackles, leads the team in solo tackles with 12. All right, Malcolm Hartzog is a DB, all right, 14 total tackles, 10 solo. Omar Brown, 14 total tackles, 11 solo. Luke Reimer, okay, when a linebacker is leading your team in sacks, it lets you know you're not running a 4-3. And to be clear, that's not a negative thing. It's just if you're a 3-4, your outside linebackers are probably going to lead the team in sacks. If you're a 3-3-5, it's probably going to be somebody who's blitzing, all right, whether it's a rover, a backer, or somebody like that. So Luke Reimer's playing some good ball. He has 12 total tackles. He also has 2.5 sacks as well, which leads the Huskers, who have 14 total sacks as a defense on the year. Nash Huntmaker is playing some good ball in there. He played really well last Saturday, the polar bear. He had a couple tackles for loss. He was in the backfield. Our D-line, for being young, inexperienced coming into the year, I think they've held up well. Even against Colorado, when Ty Robinson was out, Cameron Lenhart, the true freshman, came in and what did he get, 2 sacks in the first half, something like that? I have to go back and look and double check that, but he played well. So you got Lenhart, the freshman, who's playing well. You got Robinson, who coming into the season was expected to be our D lineman, played good ball so far. Hutmaker stepping up. The polar bear, strong as 3 oxes. You know, when I'd see squat videos prior to this new coaching staff coming in, I'd see squat videos being posted out, and I'd see like 7 plates on each side. It's like 600, 700, 800 pounds. I've known very few guys that can legitimately squat that in my entire life. Realistically, one. Okay, Philip Daniels, there's a video on YouTube of him doing 722, and he does it. And he does it right. And him and I always went back and forth in D.C. All right, who was the strongest guy on the team? It was good banter. It was me. But I digress. But that's the only guy I've known in all the years that I played football. I've been a part of football for nearly 25 years in one way, shape, or form or another. And when I would see like well over a dozen guys doing that in those videos, okay, I was skeptical. Then I'd watch and I'd see the lack of depth a lot of guys were getting, and I had my doubts. Now, I watch Hutmaker. He was the one guy. I noticed 2 things. Not only would he get the correct depth, but he was somehow explosive, you know, as you can be with all that weight on his back coming up. And you're starting to see it in his play. It is noticeable in his play. All right. Let's see what else we got here. On season stats, that's everything that kind of sticks out to me. Special teams wise, you know, I'd like to, we had the one kickoff return. I think it was 65 yards against Minnesota that Ramir had this set up, the double pass for a touchdown. I'd like to see more out of our punt returns. Okay. The coverage, though, has been awesome on our coverage teams. All right. Brian Buschini's had a little bit of a rocky start to the first couple games. I mean, he's a good kicker. I'm not questioning that. You know, he was an FCS All-American punter of the year at the FCS level. He was a good punter for us last year. I still feel like he's a really good punter, and I felt like he maybe started to find his groove just a smidge on Saturday. And I look forward to him just getting better and better because he's a good, really good punter. All right. So we're going to take a break here in a couple of minutes. All right. Again, Jay Foreman's going to be joining me at 12:30. I got a plethora of questions to ask him. And admittedly, coming into the people segment at the end of the show, I came prepared with a few questions. I noticed over the weekend I'm starting to get more and more questions and things of that nature. So I got a few questions prepared for the people segment as well. Now, there was one question that I wanted to get to, and then we'll go to break, about 2 minutes here. There was one question I wanted to get to, even this first portion of the show, the first 25 minutes. Okay. And that is Thomas Fidone. All right. Is he our best tight end? Now, if you looked at the depth chart, things of that nature, you know, Nate Borkeshire's kind of been listed ahead of him most of the time, but we run so many 2 tight end sets. And again, we've gone 3 tight ends a decent amount of the time. We got tight ends who love to block, who are physical in blocking, much to the chagrin of Travis Hunter. Okay. That guy seems to have something physically happen to him every game where he ends up on the ground in an entertaining fashion. And again, I hope he's doing good today. But if you watch that CSU Colorado game, it happened again. This a little bit different. Now he got hit by the safety from CSU rather than getting annihilated by our tight ends taking on their blocks. But Thomas, he's been clocked, and I talked about this before, 21 miles an hour. He's got really good speed. All right, 6'6", 250 pounds, highly recruited guys. We all know. Okay, he's obviously a very willing blocker. All right, he made a couple of plays, some TDs on Saturday. It was interesting to me why he wasn't listed first on the depth chart, but I think it really doesn't matter because we run with multiple tight ends so often. I don't know that it's a big deal. I do think he's Billy Kemp at wide receiver. As far as tight end and overall pass catchers, he's probably our best option pass catching wise at tight end. And I'm curious to see with that size and that straight line speed, if he can develop into our best overall pass catcher. And, you know, I don't want to put any pressure on him, but I played with a guy named Matt Harrion, maybe a vertical threat downfield that we need, like Matt Harrion used to be. Okay. And so I do think Thomas Fidone has the potential to not only be our best tight end, but be really good even beyond that as he improves and gets better over time. You know, a couple people, and so I was asked, Thomas Fidone, best tight end, question mark. All right, in parentheses, it said, shushing the crowd, Question mark. And it was interesting because this caught a few people's eye, caught my eye as well after he scored a touchdown. He kind of shushed the crowd a little bit. So even I think Will Compton was like, dude, you're at home. Why are you doing this? I think if you know a little bit more of the backstory, anytime you're a highly recruited guy and you don't come right out the gate setting the world on fire, you're going to hear positives. You're going to hear negatives. Okay, I was going to say frustrations, but let's be more blunt, negatives. And he's clearly heard both. And so when he did that, I was like, why is he shushing the Nebraska fans? I think if you know a little bit about, his early time here at Nebraska, being injured, banged up, whatnot, coming back, battling back from injuries, I think it was to those people who've doubted him. Now, what I will say, and I'm fine with that, what I will say is when you do it to the whole crowd, it might not be how it's interpreted. So just keep that in mind, Mr. Fedoni, my friend. We're all rooting for you. There's no doubt about that. All right, don't go anywhere. Jay Foreman joins me after the break. We'll be right back.
Hey, moms and dads, bring the whole crew to a Salt Dogs baseball game and unleash the fun. Visit Haymarket Park all summer for Fireworks Fridays, Souvenir Saturdays, Sunday Family Fun Days, and more. With 50 home games, even weekdays can be unforgettable. Planning an event? Make it a home run with group discounts. When you need an outing the whole family will enjoy, unleash the fun with the Salt Dogs. Call 402-474-2255 or visit saltdogs.com for tickets.
Action Plumbing, Heating, Air, and Electric is the call I make when I have a need for plumbing services. Whether it's for my home or office, if I need a repair to a water heater, softener, or even my garbage disposal, I know I can count on Action to help. In one simple call, their amazing customer service team promptly schedules a service call, often getting to my needs within a day. Action delivers honest quality services we can count on. To learn more, visit actionlincoln.com.
Ready to upgrade your combine with new technology to make your harvest more efficient, meaning more money in your pocket? The team at Landmark Implement is here to help find the right combine for harvest. Plus, when you purchase a pre-owned combine from Landmark, you are backed by Landmark's extensive parts and service network, along with mobile techs and parts drop-off points to keep you up and running, reducing downtime. View inventory online at landmarkimp.com or stop by your local Landmark to experience the Landmark difference.
Problem gambling can destroy an individual's finances, relationships, physical, and mental health. If you are a loved one or struggling with addiction, contact Choices Treatment Center's 24-hour helpline at 402-476-2300. That's 402-476-2300.
Nutrition Authority invites you to save 35 to 75% off at our back-to-school blowout. We're taking our better-than-internet prices and cutting them even deeper, bringing you the biggest sale of the season. Monday, August 14th through 19th, the back-to-school blowout is on at Nutrition Authority. For location information, check us out at mynutritionauthority.com.
This is Brad with Midwest Bank, proudly serving our Nebraska communities for over 70 years. We're a community bank, making local decisions, supporting local organizations, and helping local businesses and farms succeed. We are dedicated to serving our clients and helping them meet their financial needs with sound, innovative banking solutions. From an array of checking and deposit accounts, cash management services, to small business, real estate, and ag lending. We're here for you, your community, your bank, Midwest Bank. Find out more at midwestbank.com. Member FDIC.
Ever wish you had another light switch on the other side of the room on a dark night? How much better would you sleep at night if you had a ceiling fan in your room? The High Electric Service Department is here to make your electrical what-ifs a reality. Whether you're looking to replace some outdated light fixtures or brighten up your counters with under-cabinet lighting, High Electric can handle all types of residential electrical installations and services. Give Erica a call at 402-466-6606 or visit high-electric.com to get started. Too many people believe that chronic pain, allergies, or illness are permanent and something you're stuck with. Novotny Nutrition and Wellness has been proving that narrative wrong for 29 years and changing lives for the better in the process. Their team is trained in the newest, most advanced pain-relieving techniques and ways to deal with toxins, allergies, pollution, and emotion that make you ill. Call today for a free consultation at 531-254-5695 or go to novotnynutritionandwellness.com. Novotny Nutrition and Wellness, located at 7th and Superior.
It's not often a man wakes up and says, "I feel the best I have in years." We hear this all the time at Limitless Mail, and it can happen to you when you go to Limitless Mail and get a blood test to see what your body is missing. That's how simple it is. Schedule a free consult with Limitless Male. Discuss your symptoms. Do the blood test. If your lab results say you're low in testosterone, we can fix that. Age is just a number. You can feel your best again. Just ask Limitless Male.
The Butchery by Venue is Lincoln's premier specialty grocers. Take the quality of Venue home with you with our hand-cut steaks, handcrafted burgers, and locally sourced offerings. Browse our wide selection of specialty products designed to enhance your dining experiences with cheeses, spices, sauces, and more. We also have an exclusive collection of liquors, whiskeys, and bourbons at prices you're sure to love. Stop in to the Butchery by Venue today, located in our Venue at Home storefront at 70th and Pioneers, just 2 doors down from Venue Restaurant and Lounge.
America's been around since 1776. That's nothing. America's still just learning how to party. The Irish? The Irish have been doing it for thousands of years. Party the Irish way at McKinney's Irish Pub in the Haymarket. They've got your favorite Irish beers on tap, along with all the locals and domestics. Plus great house cocktails, a huge selection of Irish whiskey, and the best Irish pub food in town. See the full menu and list of specials online at mckinneyspub.com or just head down there. McKinney's Irish Pub at 7th and P in the Haymarket.
Rico here with HIS Auto Care at 70th and Van Dorn, letting you know HIS is a great place to bring your vehicle for service. With superior service bumper to bumper, we'll treat your vehicle like it's your mother's. Doesn't get any better than that. So call 402-488-8934 and HIS Auto will make you glad you did. 5% off, mention this ad, and for sure your mother will be proud you called. 402-488-8934, HIS Auto Care, 70th and Van Dorn. God bless you.
The sweet relief of air conditioning after a hot day in the summer sun. For only $2.88 a day, LES helps power life's special moments and your comfort. Learn more at les.com/value.
You're listening to the Adam Carriker Show on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Back everybody to Adam Carriker on The Ticket here on a Victory Monday. And I am joined by a very special guest. All right. He's a Nebraska Football Hall of Famer, 3-time national champion, 8-year NFL vet, hosts his own show right here on The Ticket, a former black shirt, Mr. Jay Foreman. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing all right, man. How you doing?
Dude, it's a glorious day. First off, before we dive into some Husker football, tell the fans when and where they can hear you right here on The Ticket.
Every day, 4 to 6, old school, me and DP, and then for one more Sunday, I'll be at 7 a.m. But I think right now, tentatively, we're going to switch to Thursday nights, 6 to 7 for Inside the Huddle. So new studio, new things. We got plenty of stuff on the horizon, man, much like yourself.
First of all, I love the Santa Claus behind you. Merry Christmas, my friend. All right. Number 2.
Hey, man, that's Reggie, man. We dropping off plenty of gifts here today.
I like it. Hey, this was not on my list of questions, but I got to ask. All right, dude, you're doing a show with the boss every day. Do you get nervous about that at all? Or is he pretty easy?
No, not at all, man. I don't even look at him. I look at him as a partner. And then, he's always made it easy, to work with and work around. So, no, I never really looked at it like that, man. And that's a good thing. I can't speak for everybody else, but, as far as me, we kind of, vibe off each other. And so it works pretty good.
No, you speak for me too. I feel the same way about DP. All right. Why has the 3-3-5 defense been so successful and so quickly and early on? Why has it worked so well so far?
Well, I think first and foremost, Tony White and the defensive staff have done an excellent job of teaching, and that's the biggest part about coaching is teaching. And then also they did a really good job that I don't think gets enough run of, I call it expanding their roster, right? So the 3-3-5, they came in and didn't try to, for instance, in the past where other staffs have tried to run, say, like a 3-4 with 4-3 guys and have defensive ends drop, that's just you're wasting 2 or 3 years. And so Tony White grew up in the 3-3-5, but it was a match made in heaven to where he came in and moved guys into position in the 3-3-5 to where they could have the most opportunity to be successful. And then it expanded the roster in the sense of you have like an in-between position, right? You have you could call it a rover, you could call it a mini linebacker, you could call it too big of a safety. Well, then now you got a bunch of guys that you can take from, special teams guys, specifically like John Bullock, good offseason in the weight room. He can play linebacker. Or you can have a Javen Wright who's kind of an in-between. He could be a rover. Then now he's moving into a linebacker. He's very productive, excellent in the pass game. So now you're adding 2 guys, but you're actually adding 4 because you're adding flexibility in 2 positions by 2 people. So obviously 2 and 2 is 4. And they've done that over and over and over. You got Blaze Gunnerson that was trying to be an outside guy. Now he's kind of like from like a wide 5 technique. He's more than big enough to do that. You got Kim Linhart, who technique-wise is way ahead of the schedule as a freshman. Good height, weight, size, and strength as a freshman. He can play that same position. You got Ty Robinson that can kind of be your boundary, 4-eye, 5 technique or 3 or whatever you want. And then you got Nash that's right in the middle. So you just expanded the roster, and then they do a good job of teaching, and then really the authentic act of backing up your words with, if you play well and welcome the challenge and do everything that you need to do on the field, off the field, you'll be out there. Mekhi Gaber, where he would have never played. He got in really good shape. He looks different, and he's playing outside linebacker. He's not the prototypical, but when he gets in there, he makes plays. So, they're playing the guys that have earned it, and then also the guys that have fit into certain positions. But I think the biggest thing, they've fit the defense, the calls, the personnel, the changes to the guys that he has on his roster. The ability, if you look at the Colorado game or even like the Minnesota game, and also not as much Northern Illinois, because you could have lined up and just played regular defense and beat them because they were horrible. But the multiple fronts and multiple personnels, right? Different guys coming in. That lets you know they're teaching. They're not just getting it up on the whiteboard. And Adam, you've had coaches like that in the league, and I felt like the league sometimes was a letdown of the inability of coaches to teach. They'll just put it on the whiteboard. It's almost like you take a screenshot and you better learn it by the time you get out there. They're actually teaching these guys the when, why, and how. And, the defense is getting the fruits of their labor right now.
Dude, I think you said it perfectly. Next question for you. So Rule has said in the offseason, he wants the 3-3-5 defense to kind of be like preparing for the old school Nebraska option offense. In other words, like you needed a month, but you really only had a week or so. What makes the 3-3-5 defense challenging to prepare for in such a short amount of time for opponents?
Well, not a lot of teams run it. The 3-4 is cute right now, and then the 4-3, and then you have more teams run a 4-2-5, right? But a 3-3-5, if you have a really good technique sound defense of line, and then you have a guy that can make plays at the jack position, right? Gives you flexibility, and it gives you ability to rush and run blitz and pass and blitz, in run zone behind. You don't know where they're coming from. The most unique thing is just take a base 4-3. You're dropping 3 guys. 4-2-5, or you're dropping 7. 4-2-5, you're dropping 7. 3-3-5, you can drop 8. That's an extra guy. It gives you flexibility. It kind of eliminates explosive plays. It's more hats to the ball, so you don't give up run after the catch, right? And it allows you to make up for some deficiencies that you might have up front, right? And then if you have 1 or 2 guys in a 3-man front that can beat a one-on-one block, it's hard to find gaps. And it's a disciplined defense, but with the effort and execution, it's created some confusion. So the ability to drop 8 legitimate guys, right, and make plays on the ball, so you can run man and still have man under, and so then you could be more physical at the line of scrimmage because you have over top help, or you could play a variety of coverages, mixes and matches, and and that's why you saw him stymie Colorado literally for 2.5 quarters, 3 quarters, until the play count in the situational football, was up against them.
So talk to me, because 3-3-5, smaller guys, okay,
right,
giving them more looks, more fronts, but the big concern was how we're going to stop the run with smaller guys on the field. And we're giving up 1.7 yards per carry. That's
right,
ridiculous. And we played some pretty good teams. Now, Colorado doesn't know what a run is, but Minnesota, that's all they want to do.
Right.
How have the smaller guys, so quote unquote, and the 3-3-5 been able to stymie the run so well so far?
Well, again, it's the teaching, it's the technique, and it's the execution. right? I mean, you're scheming up things, but these guys are beating some blocks, right? And so it's only one smaller guy than say a 3-4 in theory, right? But I really think these guys are playing bigger. There's one thing. Look, you can I don't know if Sam Mills was before your time, Adam, or like even like Ray Lewis, and a guy that you might have played with, London Fletcher, right?
Yep.
Small guy, but he plays big, right? Good leverage, good pad level, hands, shock you, run and hit. Well, they're teaching these guys to do that, pad level and play big. And so you don't have to be huge if you play with good leverage and technique. You know that in the front of the D line. And so that's one thing that they're doing. So it doesn't matter the front, right? So they're getting the basics done on a higher percentage than before. Then you throw in a scheme where you can use your quickness to punch a hole in the defense. Now the thing that sets it apart and is going to make it or go is Nash, right? He's holding up in the middle. He's not getting turned in the middle. He's holding his ground and he's winning his gap at whether it's play or backside. And then everybody else is going on from there. And they're doing a good job of diagnosing plays. And so I'm a big believer. Quickness can really give a power running team problems when you use your quickness and don't just run out of your gaps. And this as a defensive lineman, grading your linebackers behind you. You don't want a guy to shoot the B gap and then he gets blown all the way to the D gap and now he's in your face and then the C and B gap is open. So when you're owning your gap and you're keeping your pad square, there's nowhere for guys to go. So I think that like you're right, and Coach Rule says, look, something unique to prepare for. It's actually in some ways, and hopefully will be, easier to recruit to. So 3-4, you need two unicorns out there to rush the passer, right? 3-3-5, you have guys that can rush the passer based on run blitzes and pass blitzes. So you saw Colorado, Nick Heinrich, right? We're coming right up the middle. Quickness, punching you in the middle, messing up the blocking schemes in the passing game, right? So then that allows Adam Carriker you got to win one-on-one. I got to do my job. I got to get some movement on the guard and center gap and that A gap. Well, then your backside one-on-one and that 3 technique, you got to win. That's what happens. That's how you have 8-9 sacks against Colorado. And then you have guys like Jamari Butler. You're able to throw bodies at him. Jamari Butler, you're starting to see MJ Sherman, Mekhi Gabert. Then if you get Chief Borders going, you have position flexibility, but then you have athletic ability, right? And so dropping 8 guys or dropping 7 and rushing with speed and quickness allows you to get sacks, and then more importantly, getting the quarterback off his spot. And that's what they did in the first half against Colorado.
Yeah, it's interesting. You talk about Colorado. They had 8 sacks that game, the most amount the Blackshirts have had since the 2009 Big 12 championship game when Sue had, I think, 99 by himself.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, London Fletcher. So that my locker was actually right next to his. And then when they brought in Robert, RG3, they put him on the other side of me. But London, I'll never forget the last year that I was there. He hurt his ankle. And so he'd been in the league, I think, 13, 14 years at that time. He walked around all week in a boot, all week. And then he'd go out and he'd make like 15 tackles, made the Pro Bowl.
Right.
But he was a smaller, undersized guy that played significantly bigger and even faster somehow than he was, and his age even showed.
Right.
So he was like, Father Time eventually wins with everybody, but he almost seemed timeless to me. Okay, and then you make a great point with Nash, because we ran the 3-4 in DC, and it was all about our nose guard. You can win everywhere else, but if you don't win in the middle, you got problems. So Nash is a key to this defense, and he's been playing really well so far. All right, you look at what Deion's doing at Colorado. Okay, now I think Husker fans feel a lot better today, especially after seeing physical smash mouth football. Great defense has been played pretty much all season. I know the last quarter and a half versus Colorado, I mean, we just got put in bad position after bad position, got wore out. I think the defense did, but pretty much played great defense all year. But the second half versus Northern Illinois, I think Nebraska fans get excited. Aside from the score, we look like how Nebraska fans want Nebraska to look: physical, smash mouth, getting stronger as the game goes along. But you look at what Deion's doing, and I think up until that second half, because there was even some question marks in the first half as we were getting going on offense. Okay, do you think what Deion's doing at Colorado skews how people look at Matt Rule and what he's doing year one at Nebraska in any way, shape, or form?
Ken, look, you see this in all levels, right? You see it a lot in the pros, right? You see like Sean Payton go to New Orleans, take over, and then they expect the next coach to do it, just because you hit a genie in a bottle. But, I think there's probably a little bit of jealousy there and it might skew it, but it's two different situations. And you got to give Dion and them credit. They built the team, and you got a first round pick at quarterback, you got a next level guy at corner, you got a draftable safety and 4 receivers, and so the way he's doing things is working out for them, and so it might skew it a little bit, but it doesn't make it any different, because I think what Matt Rule is doing, I think Dion's the way he coaches, it's gonna last. I think what Matt Rule is doing is going to last. They're just going about it a different way, and time will tell. But I think it's Nebraska's going in the right direction, and like the smash mouths, how we were able to finish the game was good. I think the intention. I think the biggest thing, I always talk to people about intention, right? And this is like we went out and had crappy practices and games. I can't speak for. I know I have.
Everybody does, that,
right?
Yeah.
Especially, but when you have those practices, right, where nothing can go right, jumping off sides, and in your case, getting hook blocked or slip blocked or whatever, me missing checks or whatever. But if the intention's right, it shows up more times than not, because you're going about it the right way. And so that's what they've tried to do. I think they learned from Colorado game that we're in the first half, the 2 tight end sets and trying to run the inside outside zone. And when you try to not, get away from being cute, line up and just let guys get on guys, the 2-headed monster, Gabe Irvin and Grant, showed that, you can make, some pretty good chicken salad out of chicken doo-doo. So, I think that was good. And then you kind of wore a team out that had a really good defensive line. I mean, I'm sure when you watch Northern Illinois, you really like those 4 guys, because they could create some havoc. And I think the more you kept throwing punches and bringing it to them, and with 2 different guys being physical, right? And our tight ends were physically blocking, and Borkacher, lining up and solo blocking number 4 and winning and setting the edge, and Fedoni, getting up on I don't know what it was, a little nickel, number 24, creating a softer edge. And the running backs have to finish that. That's what you need, and that's what, fans should be happy about. And to be honest with you, that's what Matt Rule said he wanted to do, right? Wasn't done, to the magnitude that it was in the first 2 games. The opponent's different, right? So you can't judge Harburg and Sims, but the biggest thing is the ability to not turn the ball over from the quarterback position is huge. It gives you more chances. It gives you more chances to be ahead of schedule. You can play situational football. And then by the 3rd or 4th quarter, you can take over and you can start getting explosive plays. So, they should feel confident after this game. Nothing's, solved, but this is a step in the right direction. I don't know how big it is, but, the biggest thing for me is I want to see if they could do it twice. And, and then, then let's go see, and let's throw some haymakers against Michigan and see where we're at.
I agree with you. Last question I got for you. All right. All off season, put myself in here too. So just go to a bowl game. That's all we want out of year 1. Right. 6-6, go to a bowl game. All right. Year 1's under Matt Rule, as we know, 2 wins at Temple, 1 year at Baylor, a little bit different situation. I think more talent at Nebraska, better starting point. Obviously, he's got the transfer portal to help him out a little bit more than last time he was coaching in college football. But my question for you is, will Nebraska go to a bowl game? And if for some reason they don't, and we got a lot of games in front of us, how would you feel about that?
Man, I'm a firm believer of this, man. Nebraska should never not be bowl eligible. That's just me, man. I don't care if I don't care if they hire Adam Carriker. I don't care if they hire Jay Foreman.
What does that mean? Hey, what's that mean?
We aren't coaches. We aren't coaches. That means
okay. All right.
It doesn't matter the coach. That's all I'm saying. Like they could hire us tomorrow, and you better be saying Jay Foreman better make a bowl game. I'm gonna say the same thing about you. So would I be disappointed? Yeah. I'm also a believer of how does it look, right? Can I look at the later in the season? I can say, you know what? I see exactly what we're trying to do. I still believe there's enough talent and opportunity to do it. I think that we'll win this week. And I think before the season, if you had said we're 2-2, we would have been okay with it. Ideally, you would like to be 3-1, right? But I think majority of fans in Nebraska probably thought we would be 2-2, 3-1. But here's the problem, Adam, is nobody really expected us to beat Minnesota, right? But we played well enough and gave the game away. So that changed the expectations overnight.
Yes.
Nobody expected Colorado to be worth a plum nickel. Saw them overnight. Then you go to Colorado and you dominate the first half. That's where the disappointment comes, and that's where people look at revisionist history. So they can say, you're half a game behind, right? Well, then if you're a competitor, figure it out. Illinois is gettable. Purdue, Northwestern gettable. Maryland, they run an offense that's tailor-made for our defense to shut it down. So then that means our special teams and offense got to win a game. Michigan State is ripe for the picking.
Yep.
So there's opportunity there. In Iowa, Kurt Ferentz sons are not. I don't know his name. Brian Ferentz. He might have scored over. Right. He scored over 30 points this week. And listen.
Yep.
He puckered up tight. He don't know if he getting his bonus because they got a new quarterback, 2 NFL tight ends, and they can barely get across the 50 after the first drive. Wisconsin, they just got mollywopped up there at Washington State. They aren't even using Braylon Allen. The opportunity is there. You got to take one game at a time. And so I still think they should make a bowl game. I still think they can win more than 6 games. Would I be disappointed? Yeah, but I think a lot of that stuff has to do with how they play and injuries. I think if they could stay pat, and be somewhat healthy, I think they should make a bowl game.
I'm with you on that. And as far as Brian Ferentz, I always call him Baby Ferentz because it's pretty obvious daddy ball, in my opinion, at Iowa. But that's their business. I hope they keep doing it because I don't think it's helping them. But they were actually behind because he's got to average 25 points a game to keep his job. They were behind pace. So this past weekend, when they were way up, instead of kneeling it or just running the clock out, they were calling timeouts trying to score because he's got to keep his job. So anyways, I digress. I appreciate your time and thank you for joining me, my friend.
All right, man. I'll see you next time.
All right, Husker Nation, we'll be right back after this break.
Our Remington Homes has really expanded and taken off in the last 5 years.
Bob Benish of Aspen Builders, talking about their exciting new division, Remington Homes, which makes the home building process easier and more affordable.
The exciting thing about a Remington home is you get to choose your floor plan from predetermined floor plans. You can select your options. We give you a lot of choices. By selecting certain floor plans, they're just easier to build. And you couple that with our great lot selection in all different areas. People do not want to be married to their house payment. They want to get a nice house with nice finishes in a great area for an affordable price. And that's what Remington Homes are all about.
Home building is easier with a Remington home from Aspen Builders at 423-6811. Online at remingtonlincoln.com. remingtonlincoln.com.
Why are some people more successful? Is it talent and determination?